The explosion you have witnessed is the last in the present series of tests conducted in the Sahara. It proved to us and to the world that France is now ready to put these weapons into production.
A beer, please.
I tell you, they won't be happy till they blow up the whole world.
I tell you, Sherry, now that we've got the atom bomb, the Americans and the Russians will think twice before they try to blow up somebody. You should be celebrating, not complaining, huh?
Let's all celebrate now that we can murder and cripple our share of humanity. Bravo.
Did you hear that? What are you, a salt communist?
I am against atom bombs and atomic warfare.
We are against all warfare.
Keep it to yourself, huh?
That's right. Let's not pretend that we can say what we think in France.
Why don't you go and live in Russia?
Maybe you haven't heard the news. The Russians have been making atom bombs for 15 years.
You still sound to me like a bunch of communists.
And you sound like a couple of Nazi stormtroopers.
You little... Get out of here! Be gone! Hey.
Much. You were one.
You really can't
Forget it. Anybody else would have done the same thing.
I do not think so. I'm Jacques Goyon.
Jacques?
This is Nicole Tessier.
Nicole?
And Paul Martin.
Hi. My name's Bob Farrell.
You're Madcon.
Yeah, but don't hold it against me. We all have to be born someplace.
Goons.
They'll give up soon and go away.
We hope.
If only we could find something. Hey.
Don't do that. Put it down.
A few moments ago, they were ready to kill you.
If I thought that killing them would do any good, I would urge you to go ahead.
Killing them? I wasn't thinking of going that far. I just want to get out of here.
Don't worry. We'll get out of here. Then let's aim at someone really worthwhile. The most important target we can hit.
What do you study? What? I say, what are you studying? French civilization. You know, wines, cafes, chicks. In school? School? I'm on the GI Bill.
He means what you're interested in.
Like I said, French civilization. Wines, cafes, and chicks.
Well, why in the cafe then did you fight for us?
I guess I didn't like those guys' faces.
You mean you don't think about the bomb at all?
It's creepy. Yes, but don't you think we ought to think of ways to stop it? Yeah, 20 years too late. Not in France. Without any help from France, Russia and America can blow up the world 500 times over.
Yes, but they know that, and they are so afraid they will never drop their bombs.
So what are we knocking ourselves out for? La da 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 da. But you don't have any really big atomic weapons. Just a few exhibition samples you shot off in the Sahara.
At the moment, yes. But that thing we saw on television was just the end of the test phase. Now we're going to full production.
But do you think that France will catch up Russia and America?
We don't have to catch up. Suppose we make enough bombs to destroy the world just once, not 500 times over.
And if we start making bombs, every other country will want to make them too, and that will be the end.
I see what you mean. France is rocking the boat.
Look, I'm ashamed to say that the French nuclear program is the greatest single threat to human survival.
But don't be ashamed. I know you had nothing to do with it.
We didn't do anything to stop it either.
No, well, neither did I guess.
Yet, you are against the bomb, aren't you?
But suppose I say I am against it. What difference does it make? It's like being against bad weather.
That's not true. Atom bombs are made by men, and men can be controlled, or at least influenced.
All right, well, if you can introduce me to the guys who make the bomb, I'll try my best to influence them to stop. How's that?
That's the man.
Well, do you have an idea? Are you going to do something?
Who is he? He's the greatest physicist in France. Nobel Prize. He has just been appointed scientific chief of the nuclear program, and he takes up his post next month. Unless we persuade him not to.
What do you mean? It's impossible.
Ridiculous.
I happen to know this man. I think we can reach him if we talk to him.
Suppose he doesn't want to talk to you.
We will insist on it. Don't you agree?
Well, yes, I suppose so. Why not?
I do too.
What about you, Bob?
Me?
Sure, I mean, if you agree with us, you must help us.
Well, I guess I do agree with you. But what can I do?
Well, you could lend us your car.
My car? Sure, why not?
And as an American, your opinions would carry weight.
Well, if you really think so, okay. As far as I'm concerned, let's go. What am I supposed to do, Nicole?
I'll do the talking. You listen and look sincere. That ought to be easy enough for you.
But why do you want me to come along?
It's more natural this way. Besides, I like your company. Come in. Good morning. May I speak with Professor Moreau, please?
I'm sorry, he's in conference.
Oh, when will he be free? Because it's very important.
What is it about, mademoiselle?
I left some books at his house and I need them now.
Your books at the house of Professor Moreau?
I was in a class with his daughter Martine last year. We used to study together in her room, and I left them there, but I need them now.
What are the titles?
Oh, there are so many of them. They cover the old Middle Ages. But I'm sure my name is in most of them.
And what is your name, mademoiselle?
Suzanne Duvivier.
I'll have a look in the professor's engagement book.
What's this Suzanne de Vivier bit, Nicole?
Paul said not to use my right name.
Paul did. Why? But if he looks in those books before you get there.
What books, Bob?
The professor will be home by lunchtime today. You can have your books then, mademoiselle.
Lunchtime today. Thank you very much, madame.
Oh, please be on time, because he will be leaving soon afterwards.
Of course.
Suppose he just plain refuses to talk to us.
Then we will just plain insist.
But we're not going to get rough with him, are we?
That's the last thing in the world I want.
Okay.
Look, Bob, we're not planning anything dangerous. But once you start something like this, you've got to carry it through. No matter what happens. To the very end. Bob, if you want to back out, now is the time.
Who said anything about backing out?
Now remember, you go into the apartment first, then you. We don't want to frighten him and make it look like an invasion.
There must be a reply. Please keep ringing. Excuse me a moment. Don't disconnect me. Come in, mademoiselle. You know where Martine's room is.
I brought a friend to help me carry the books.
Fine, fine. You carry on with your business. Ignore me. I have so much to do and so little time. Yes? Well, a moment ago they didn't answer. And now they're engaged. Is that possible? Very well. But please call me back. It's urgent.
Professor Morrow.
Oh, please. Please, young man, can't you see that I'm busy?
We want to talk to you, Professor.
What are you doing here?
I said we would like to talk to you.
I have nothing to say to you.
Paul, you know the professor?
Let's say I knew him a long time ago.
Would you ask your friend to wait downstairs, mademoiselle?
Professor, I insist.
I'm sorry, but I have phone calls to make before I get to the airport.
I'm afraid we should like to talk to you first.
Paul, put that away. These things are dangerous.
I'm glad you realize that's so. Yes? Oh, yes. He asked me to stay here and tell you that he had to leave unexpectedly. I don't know. Not too long, I imagine. Well, I have to leave myself soon. All right, I'll do that. Not at all. Now, Professor, for your own good and safety, will you please come along with us quietly?
Paul, put that away and go now, and I'll forget this incident.
Please don't argue or make any unnecessary noise. Because as you yourself observed, Professor, these things are dangerous. You may get out now, Professor. Come inside the house. We've got something to show you, and then we can have a calm and reasonable discussion.
Is that gun your idea of the voice of reason?
Well, let's not pretend, Professor. If I didn't have the gun, you wouldn't have come. And you wouldn't listen to us long enough to know whether we were reasonable or not. Shall we go inside?
Nicole, what exactly are we going to do in there?
Oh, just talk to him.
Nobody told me there was going to be a gun in this.
Oh, because nobody knew.
Well, you didn't look exactly surprised when he yanked it out and started waving it around.
I'm not surprised at anything that Paul does.
You knew he had a gun on him, though, didn't you?
Oh, I didn't know for sure. I knew he had one
Look,
in his
what
room.
am I, the hired chauffeur who isn't supposed to be told what's going on? Clue me in. Am I due for any more pleasant little surprises like that one?
Look, Bob, all I can say is you must trust Paul.
I apologize for the discomfort, Professor, but my family has not lived here for years. But it's full of childhood memories for me. In fact, it was from the top of those stairs that my father announced that France had been liberated from the Nazis. So it's a very fitting place for a peace conference, don't you think?
If this is a student's prank, I advise you to stop it and take me back to Paris.
Oh, no, but we have some entertainment for you. Bob, will you fix the curtains? I believe the show is about to begin. If you will take a seat. Are you ready, Jacques?
And what am I supposed to learn from this?
It's an educational film, don't you agree, Professor?
It is indeed, young man, but not so impressive as the real thing. I spent 2 months in Hiroshima, and believe me, these pictures give only a second-hand idea of the effects of gamma radiation on the human body. The degree of burns depends on the proximity to the center of the blast and the intensity of the radiation. The after effects, however, in the case of more than 300 Roentgens of exposure, is a rapid deterioration of the red corpuscles, resulting in galloping leukemia, which accelerates to a terminal stage as the bone marrow...
Switch it off. Thank you for your lecture, Professor. We should have known that you would not be moved by this picture.
Of course I'm moved by it. I've seen this film a dozen times, and every time I see it, I'm moved by the suffering it shows. Don't insult my intelligence. Do you think I am unaware of these things? I am more aware of them than anyone in France.
Then what is missing, Professor Moreau? Imagination?
Perhaps you would like me to bring this antiquated film up to date. Do you know the bomb we have just tested is thousands of times greater than the one in the film?
And yet you advocate its retention by France.
Yes, precisely because I know its consequences and its power.
You really want to destroy the whole world?
Don't talk nonsense, young man. You're old enough to think more clearly. The bomb is a fact in the world. Shrinking from it in a fit of sentimental revulsion won't make it go away. America and Russia have nuclear power. France must have it too.
That's politics, not science.
You made an interesting remark when we arrived here, Paul. You said that if you didn't have the gun, I wouldn't have listened to you. You were quite correct. That is why France must have the bomb, to be listened to in the councils of the world.
The only difference is that my gun is not loaded.
I am now ready to leave for Paris.
Well, we tried, I guess. I'll give you a hand to put this stuff in the car.
No, we're not going back to Paris yet.
Paul, I don't think we're doing any good. It was a great idea, but this guy isn't very easy to convince.
I know. I expect it will take a long time.
Paul, what's the point? He's got a mind like a steel trap. We could talk to him for 100 years, and he still wouldn't know what we were saying.
Oh, don't let him deceive you. He understands us completely. I've known him for a long time. I studied under him for 4 years. I was your star pupil, wasn't I, Professor?
Yes, you were, Paul.
He's full of specious arguments, and he doesn't believe any of them.
Maybe. All the same, it's getting awfully late.
We will take you back to Paris, Professor, when you agree to our demands.
Wait a minute, please.
Let go my arm.
I want you to hear what Paul has got to say.
What are your demands, Paul?
We demand that you resign as head of the Nuclear Energy Commission.
Why should I do that?
Because you are a scientist and not a politician, and as a scientist you have a conscience. You know the political value of the bomb is not worth the risk of total destruction to our civilization.
Total destruction?
Oh, am I using terms too general and unscientific for you, Professor? I apologize. You're right to pull me up for sloppy thinking. Not quite total destruction. There would be some survivors. Does it make a difference?
And what do you think my resignation would accomplish?
To begin with, it would bring a halt to the nuclear program.
You flatter me, but I'm not indispensable. They could easily find a replacement.
In time, yes. But if you resign for the right reasons, that time would never come. There are millions in France who feel as we do. Your resignation would give them the courage to speak up. It would force a referendum. And then the French people could vote against the nuclear program, and men like you would be out of a job.
You have other reasons for wanting me to resign, haven't you, Paul?
I want you to resign for the sake of humanity.
That's an attractive slogan, and it'll always get a round of applause. But I wonder if you believe it. Haven't you more personal reasons for wanting to see me out of a job, as you put it?
I don't know what you mean.
I think you do, Paul. You know why you left my lessons 4 years ago.
I have no personal reasons. We are all four in agreement.
I don't question your friends or their motives. But are they aware that you want to see my career destroyed for reasons that have nothing to do with love of humanity?
We are all asking for your resignation.
Your father was a traitor, Paul.
That's not true.
He collaborated with the Nazis. That's the only reason I opposed his appointment to the commission.
You leave my father out of this.
Did you know that Paul's father was a scientist? He worked on the German V-2 rockets that were used to attack England.
It's a lie.
I'm sorry, Paul. I think they ought to know. The real reason you want to destroy me is because I exposed your father.
No, Paul, no! No! You have plenty of time to consider our demand, Professor. You can stay overnight. Several nights if you wish. Jacques, there's a bed on one of the rooms on the top landing. Take him up there. Go ahead, Jacques. Will you come this way, please?
We will return to espionage after station identification.
Hi. Breakfast. The others awake yet?
Jacques is guarding the professor's door.
Paul?
I've looked all over the house for him. He's gone.
Are you sure?
Yes. I thought you had gone too when I saw your car was missing.
Maybe he's gone for a walk.
Maybe.
How was the armchair in your room last night?
Uncomfortable.
So was mine. Do you think there was anything in what the professor said? I mean, about Paul's father?
Not a word of truth.
I mean, you could see something was going on, something strictly between the two of them. And nothing to do with who's doing what with which atom bomb. For instance, that stuff about Paul's father working for the Nazis.
I told you there's not a word of truth in it. You don't know Paul, you've only just met him. He has a brilliant mind and he's utterly honest. The professor is a clever and tricky man
I'm
who will
sorry,
say anything
Nicole.
to hurt Paul. Anything.
Sorry. But if it wasn't true, why do you think Paul got so worked up about it?
Because he loved his father very much.
Loved?
His father's dead. He killed himself 10 years ago.
Well, breakfast. Let's go.
Paul?
The prisoner is ready for his breakfast.
We thought you might like to come downstairs.
I suppose you spent the night in passionate cafe table discussion. Well, what have you decided? Am I to be shot at dawn for the sake of the peace of the world?
I don't think I shall ever be able to understand men like you.
You're rather young to understand anything, aren't you?
How old are you, Professor?
57.
And what is the expectation of life for a man in your somewhat sedentary occupation? Another 10 to 15 years active life at the most? And perhaps we should deduct some of that for the chance of contracting one of the diseases caused by breathing our polluted atmosphere.
What is your point?
My point is, Professor, that it is our world you are gambling with and not yours. A world my generation is waiting to inherit from you, to shape in our own image according to the wisdom handed down to us by you.
I'm aware of my responsibilities. What is your name?
Jacques Guillaume.
I am aware of my responsibilities, Jacques. That is why I want your generation to inherit a world where peace is securely protected.
Protected by what, Professor? By the delicate balance of power. You pile death in either side of the scales. Are you sure that the quantities are exactly equal, will cancel each other out? And are you sure that the delicate balance will last for my generation?
I am old enough not to be sure of anything.
Then you admit you are gambling with our lives and our children's lives.
I admit the risk.
Thank you for that moment of honesty.
Jacques.
Paul, where have you been?
I've been to Paris.
What?
Yes, I walked to the village and caught the early train. I wrote a letter to the newspapers on the train and mailed it outside the station in Paris, and then I came straight back here.
Well, what was in the letter?
Here's a copy. Tell me if you agree with what I've said.
Well, why did you have to go to Paris to mail it?
He didn't want them to see the local postmark.
That is correct. I've also bought some cans of food, so we won't have to go shopping for several days.
You realize you'll be hunted like dangerous criminals and that the police will find you in the end.
Eventually. But the newspapers will have our story by tonight. And France will know our aims.
You hope the whole of France will help you to force my resignation.
You will never resign because of the reasons I gave you. It was immature of me to expect that you would. Your position will be one of the most important in France, won't it? That's why you removed my father. Because he stood in the way of your ambition. Ah, but you'll be on the top now. The President of the Republic may call you in and ask for personal advice. What do you think, Professor Moreau? Have you got any interesting new weapons coming along? Have you invented a death ray yet, Professor? A tidy neutron bomb that will kill the people and leave the buildings standing?
And what's in your heroic manifesto?
We are holding prisoner the man who symbolizes the madness of France. Our smallest aim is to halt work on weapons of destruction for the brief period in which we can evade arrest. Our larger aim is to invite the people of France to speak up so that the work on these weapons may be halted forever. You are looking forward to the publicity, aren't you, Professor?
Aren't the afternoon papers out yet, Jacques?
Yes, they should have been on the streets an hour ago.
Where is Bob, then?
Maybe there was nothing in the early editions and he's staying on to buy the later ones.
Oh, yes, of course. Do you think they'll publish Paul's letter?
Well, I would if I were an editor.
Then what's the matter?
I don't know. It's all a question of motive. Why one does a certain thing can be as important as what one does. And how one does it can be more important still.
I know what's bothering you.
You see, to me, a revolver is the same as an atom bomb, only on a miniature scale.
But not a revolver without any bullets in it.
I don't know whether bullets make any difference. To threaten violence weakens our argument. In fact, it contradicts it absolutely.
But Paul didn't threaten violence. He only pretended to, with an empty gun which could harm no one. He has no bullets for it. And I don't care what you say, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yes, maybe you're right.
Of course I'm right. I'm a woman. Oh, come home, Yank, with those newspapers. It's raining. I'll race you to the kitchen.
I bought a copy of everything.
Let me see.
Keep it in for.
And look at this headline. It's like another Algeria.
What do they all say?
Read them for yourselves.
The professor's loyalty is known to be unimpeachable, and there is no truth in the rumor that security officers are investigating the possibility that he may have defected to the Russian bloc. This paper has not received our message.
The spokesman for the Quai d'Orsay, who asked that his name be withheld, said he had evidence that the professor's disappearance was an Anglo-American plot to force France to resume her military commitments to NATO.
A noted Washington correspondent suggests that this is merely another instance of the sex and security scandals which have recently rocked the chancelleries of Europe.
This newspaper has received a letter from an anonymous correspondent mailed in the vicinity of the Gare du Nord.
Oh, look!
In which it is claimed that the professor has been kidnapped and will be released on payment of 10 million francs ransom money.
The government has stepped in. National security. Our letter has been suppressed.
Then we have accomplished nothing.
Except to give the police a clue and put them on your tracks. Now it's only a matter of time.
Where do we go from here?
The Claude Desjardins program.
What is that, Jacques?
Claude Desjardins, he is a friend of mine. He does a news commentary on the radio every night. I will get him to put me on his midnight show. I will broadcast our manifesto.
But will he allow it?
Oh, look at these papers. It is a front-page story. It would be a big scoop.
You'd be arrested before you could leave the radio station.
No, but that will be after we have put our message across.
Can he use your car?
Sure. But you're committing harikari. I hope you know that.
We all are. Besides, if I do not succeed, these last 2 days will have been an absurd and meaningless farce.
Now, the police will be looking everywhere for us. So take the minor roads into Paris.
Yes, I will.
Take Paul's gun. So when you are stopped, you can mow them all down and make a getaway.
It isn't loaded.
Wait a minute. It's loaded now.
No, thank you. I would not know how to use it.
Oh, I didn't mean you should kill anyone. But if you're stopped, a couple of shots in the air might help you get away.
Good luck, Jacques.
Identity papers, please. Huh? And the car? Your registration slip. This car belongs to an American.
Yes, I know. He is a friend of mine. He lent it to me.
Where does he live?
In Paris, in the Latin Quarter.
And where do you live?
Oh, the same place. No, I mean, I am staying there at the moment while he is away for a few days.
Did you steal this car?
Oh, no, sir.
Where are you going now?
That way.
To which town?
To Le Mans.
You are on the wrong road.
Oh. I must have taken a wrong turning.
Where are you going?
I told you, to Le Mans.
You stole this car, didn't you?
No, sir, it belongs to an American friend of mine. He lent it to me.
Get out, please.
Leaders and government officials will sit down to an all-night session tonight. Hope was expressed that the emergency session would lead to a contract satisfactory to both sides. Tomorrow, the General Assembly of the United Nations
the broadcast
opens
is
against the
almost
background
over.
of tensions in Africa and Asia, the UN's shaky finances, and the growing pressure to change the makeup of the Security Council. Despite all the problems in store, it is felt that the session about to start will prove to be the most successful to date. Here is something that has just been handed to me regarding the disappearance yesterday of Professor Henri Moreau. The professor has been located. He is with his daughter on the Riviera. The alarm this morning was due to his leaving Paris without informing any member of his staff. Well, this looks like another one of those absent-minded professor stories. This is Claude Desjardins. I'll be on the air tomorrow night at the same time. Until then, good night, everyone. Good night.
They wouldn't let him speak.
Perhaps the traffic was heavy and he didn't get to the radio station on time.
No, he had time to get there and back a half a dozen times.
Yes, I know.
And all that eyewash about the professor being on the Riviera. No, I'm afraid they've got poor old Jacques.
Perhaps they really think the professor is on the Riviera.
After Paul's letter to the newspapers? No, they're determined to hush this thing up. It proves Paul is right. A lot of people are against France keeping its own bomb, and nobody wants the public to get stirred up about it. Gee, what do you have to do to get listened to around here?
There is only one thing to do. And I'm going to do it.
Yep, I'm afraid I agree with you. They seem to have got us covered whichever way we turn. Well, you better get some sleep, Professor. We've missed the last train to Paris, and there'll be a long walk to the station in the morning. We'll go quietly, I guess, and you can hand us over to the police like a passel of cattle rustlers.
Your youth will be considered. All the same, I suppose you'll spend the next few years of your lives in prison.
Okay, we know that. But you don't have to look so pleased about it.
You know, in America, the sentence for kidnapping is death.
No kidding. And I suppose they execute you with baby atom bombs.
Good night.
I'm sorry things turned out this way, Paul. But like my father says, you can't fight the government.
Where is your father?
Portland, Oregon.
Are you very close to him?
Do you mean we get on okay? Sure. I admire him a lot.
Paul, what are we going to do? He's so strange.
They've got him licked and he knows it. Well, it's going to be another uncomfortable night. Still, jail will probably be worse.
came in. I just saw him going up the stairs.
Oh, he's probably going to wake up the professor. It isn't dawn yet.
This place gives me the shivers.
What do you think he meant when he asked me about my father?
This was his family home, you know.
It's kind of neglected now, isn't it? How long ago did he live here with his parents?
I think Paul said he was 10 when he was taken to Paris.
That'd be about 10 years ago. Isn't that the time you said his father died?
Yes, I suppose so. No wonder I don't like the atmosphere in this house.
You don't think it was here that his father actually...
Paul! I'm going to kill you, Professor. And when I'm on trial for murder, they will have to let me speak. And I will tell the whole world why I did it.
What will you say, Paul? That you killed to prevent killing? That you murdered me to demonstrate your opposition to violence? Now, put down that gun and let me talk to you.
You are the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And this in my hand is the instrument of obliteration, which when I pull the trigger will make a flash 1,000 times brighter than the sun.
Paul, let me say something.
You are looking into a furnace hotter than the planet Mercury. And in a moment it will consume you in its fire. And all your sins will be purified.
Paul, listen to me.
I have listened to you. I sat in your class for 4 years and thought you were a god. I worshipped you. And I worship your religion of our mathematics. You taught me some of the divine laws of the universe, and I listened to you expounding some of the physical facts about the unreachable stars. But I did not know then that you were planning to use your knowledge of the science of creation to perpetrate the science of destruction.
Oh, for your own sake, Paul, you mustn't pull that trigger.
Well, talk me out of it, Professor. Give me a mathematical equation. If X equals Y and so on, then a man like you who learns the secret of life is justified in inventing ways of destroying it.
When a man like me learns that another man has betrayed his country, he is justified in denouncing him.
I'm not talking about my father. He's dead.
Yes, Paul, but you must know the truth of why he is dead.
He hung himself here in this room. And I was the little boy who found him. And you were the man who drove him to it.
How did I drive him to it, Paul?
You made his name a filthy word in France.
I did, Paul. I did. But he killed himself because it was true. He couldn't live with this feeling of guilt. He thought the Germans were going to win the war, so he worked for them.
I don't believe you. Your life is a lie. You eliminated him because he stood in your way. And for no other reason. Isn't that true? Well, tell me. It's the truth, isn't it? You pretend you are searching for the truth. But your eyes are not on the stars. They're on your monthly salary and your status in society.
That was your father, Paul.
What a scientist learns is God-given and privileged information. But you sell your knowledge to the highest bidder.
You're talking about your father, Paul.
Scientist's life is dedicated to the whole of humanity. But you serve your nearest master.
Killing me will not make your father innocent.
You posed as a superior human being. You made me love you and admire you. But you betrayed my love by turning me
into a mere human being? With all the imperfections that fathers are not supposed to show their sons.
My father was...
Your father was only a human being, Paul. And not a very good one. It was impossible for you to believe that when you were 10 years old, but you must believe it now. And forgive him for it. Science is not a religion, Paul, and your father was not a god. You expected too much from him. And then, when you lost him, you transferred your worship to me. But though science may bring us closer to understanding the nature of God, it doesn't make us scientists godlike.
Paul! What are you doing? Paul! We heard you shouting and we...
love him, Nicole? He'll need your love. Well, we better get to the station. It's quite a way, I believe. I mustn't miss my connection in Paris if I'm to join my daughter on the Riviera before the day is over.
You mean you're going to let us?
I mean, according to the radio, I haven't been kidnapped at all. And the sooner I get where they say I am, the better.
Oh.
In a moment, scenes from our next espionage show.